enjoyed this week's episode, and please like this video, share with your friends and dock mates, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us get more viewers like you.
Hey y'all! So we are working more in the bilge today. Yay! We just can't get out of it. So I'm going to tell you about the problem and then what we're doing to solve it. So down in our bilge, you can see our freshly painted bilge. There is already water gathered in there. Now that is because we have a slow leak down in there. And we know it needs to be fixed, but you have to take the boat out of the water to fix it, so we're not going to do that quite yet. But when we take it out next, we will. But there's always some kind of leak on a boat. That just is what it is. Water gets in your bilge. That's why you have a bilge. So right now, we want to have the driest bilge possible. And our current bilge pump, which we're going to keep in there, has a float switch. So we have to wait for the bilge to get to a certain amount of water before that switch gets flipped, and then it sucks out the water. So what we want is a more sensitive system to catch first, and then have that float switch as like for a big thing, you know, we're running a shower or something like that. Or cleaning out the bilge or whatever, you know. So we really want to have a first line of defense because we would like to have a dry bilge all the time. So we've been calling this dry bilge, like this is our dry bilge project. And I'm going to show you what Matt has put together.
Well, hold on. This is a well-known, documented DIY project on the internet, so it's not my idea.
No.
We'll link a couple of resources in the video description to show where this came from. I can't take credit for it. I mean, I did put my own flavor on it, and we'll go through that here in a bit. But thank you, internet, for all your wonderful ideas, and we'll show you our interpretation of it.
Okay, so here we are with our parts. So currently we have in our bilge pump with a float switch, but we want to take it to another step. So we have here these metal plates and sponges. So we're gonna put these on here. We'll do this, and then for each one of these, they'll go in two different parts of the bilge. This one will go in the living part of the bilge, this one like down here in our main part of the bilge, and then this one will go in the bilge underneath the engine. So we'll have two.
How are we going to fix these sponges to the plates?
Yeah, so we're going to just put in proper hardware right here.
Just through bolt that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now we have these in our bilge. Now how are they going to suck up water? So we're going to drill holes in these first before we get them affixed to the sponges, because we want to connect them to hoses, each one of these to a hose. And we're going to do that through these fittings. So we'll drill the holes and we'll put in our fitting. We have one of each, like some of them have an elbow and some that go straight, because we weren't sure exactly until we get it in and dry fit it all what's actually, which one of these we're gonna need. We just know that we need it to be this size. So one of these goes in each of these, and it has this size tubing coming out. Now it comes out, and then each one of these has a, I don't know what they're called. What are they called?
T-fitting.
T-fitting that will come off connected to the other side of this. So this is going here and going here. And then based on where we'll have it, we would have a cap on this, and then we would take this over here and connect these two together, and then connect that out with the same size, and then it'll connect to a filter to go through to make sure it gets any of the big stuff that might have gotten through here, which I think would be hard going through the sponge. But either way, always a second line of defense. And then this will go into this pump. So this pump is really great because it has a few different things. It runs dry without damage, and you know, it plugs into our 12 volt and is really great pump for this particular thing. And so it will come in the pump on this side, and it'll shoot the water out on this side. So then this, we connect it to another one of these hoses, and then be teed into the actual bilge pump hose. Okay, a couple things with that. Technically, as Matt told me earlier, we're supposed to have a separate line that goes to a separate through hole, one for each one of these systems. But since we don't have an extra through hole at this point, and we're not gonna just take the boat out just to do this, we will put it on for a later project and figure that out as we go. So we will be doing that in a later video, so you will see that. But for right now, we would like to have it working for all the time that we're not pulled out of the water until then, all that time in between. So we're gonna set this up, and we're gonna splice it into the actual main bilge pump that goes overboard, that hose. So another thing that Matt got, since this particular thing runs dry, he got a timer so that this will go off. We can time it and say it goes off every 2 hours. It'll just automatically suck the water from these every 2 hours, or whatever setting we would want to set it on. And because it can run dry, it's okay to run without any water in it. So basically it's just kind of like a first line of defense, I guess, or second line of defense. I don't know how you want to say it, but it's going to be running at whatever timer that we set the time on. So I think that is the system. So we have to get these wired up. So there's a wiring component of this project, and then there is the plumbing portion of the project.
These are just regular wall plates, right? That would cover like an old outlet. So that's a pretty awesome and affordable way to do it. But I chose metal because I didn't want these things to float. I wanted them to stay down as close to the base of the bilge as possible. So the sponge will actually, you know, kind of absorb things in between the pump doing the suction. And so if it's down there as far as it can with this heavy metal plate, that's the best thing for us. And I was able to find these in 304 stainless steel, not 316, but it is 304. So marine grade household plates. So here is our completed assembly for like the sucker plate. We'll call it a sucker plate. But the pump that Devin showed earlier, it'll be connected to hose, and then this hose is gonna suck the moisture out of this sponge. So what we did was we drilled a hole in the center of this plate where our fitting can screw into. And we used 316 stainless hardware here to bolt the sponge to it, because eventually the sponge will degrade and we'll want to replace that. But I wanted to show you guys also, we also drilled some extra holes into this fitting too, so the water would suck through here. But we also drilled some holes on the side, so as this thing sticks through up into the sponge, the water will suck through here, and there's 4 holes on the side. So it's really easy to replace the sponge when it gets old, and all you gotta do is just finger tight it and you're ready to go.
Stay tuned for next week when we install the plumbing and see if our DIY project is really gonna work.